Hi guys, welcome to this video. In this video, I want to talk about a simple change that will allow you to get more engagement on your writing. Watch the video, think about it, see how you can apply it to your writing. Right, let's just dive in and cover the topic. A lot of the writing I see nowadays is all about tips. People give 10 tips, 7 tips, tip after tip after tip. Your audience doesn't want or doesn't need another tip. If you switch your tips to telling stories that get the same message across, you'll get far more engagement. You will grow your subscribers. You will grow your followers. It's a simple change, but it makes all the difference. Anybody can write a tip, but nobody else has got your experiences that they can pass on. I've written over 700 articles at this point, and the articles that get most comments, most engagement, people bring up all the time, and they talk to me about it, and they reminisce about it, are the ones where I told a story, not the ones where I gave a tip. The ones where I gave tips were the hardest ones to write. I had to find the tip, I had to find examples, I had to structure it in a way that it was interesting. The stories were just there. Told a story, transitioned to the lesson I wanted to pass on, and then just moved on. Those are the ones that got engagement, and they were the easiest ones to write. I didn't have to think about them. They just came out because they were lived experiences. The trouble with articles where you give lots of tips is people bookmark it for later. If you look at your bookmarks, I bet you haven't read half the stuff you've bookmarked. Everyone does it. They bookmark something for later, never go back to it. Whereas if it's something that's memorable, you probably implement it almost immediately or even without thinking about it. So talk about stories, use that as those experiences as the lesson, and people will implement and think about it more than if you just gave them 10 reasons to do something. Right, this is a science bit. Ignore it if you want. When you give someone tips, the part of the brain that deals with it is the cerebellum. It takes in all the facts and all the tips and frameworks, and it sits there. If you talk about something emotional, stories and stuff like that, so the first thing is the hippocampus. The hippocampus takes in the stories, processes them, etc. If there's some emotion involved, you make them think of something that's a little bit emotional, the amygdala takes over and it stores that memory. That's the basic reason. Now, I might be totally wrong on this. This is how I understand it. Okay. I am not a neuroscience. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not a brain surgeon. This is what I am led to believe. The hippocampus and the amygdala deal with stories. Cerebellum deals with tips. Let's do this in a way that makes more sense than brain surgery. So you tip. Okay, it's intellectual. People bookmark it, forget it. When you're writing it, you're using a framework. Okay, so people have the framework, and the outcome is it's read. If you have a link, some people may go to the link, but most people won't. The story now, this is different. This is where it's different. The story is emotional. It triggers different parts of the brain. People are more likely to share something that they recognize and that resonates with them. We're holding up a mirror to them. They're going to remember it. If you have a link there where they can find out more, they're more likely to click through. Every single test where I've split tested tips with a call to action and a story with a call to action, the call to action always, always, always gets more clicks. When your reader gets your article, 10% of them, they actually want these tips. Okay, they think they need tips. I need information, I need a tip. They can go and Google it, fire up AI and get as many tips as they want. You give them 10 tips, they can get 100 tips. There's no point in taking them down that road. They can't get the proof that your story is going to give them. Okay, what people want to know is they want to be reassured that someone has been through the same things and come out the other side. They want permission to keep on going. They want to know that somebody 6 months ago was going through the same thing and they've got through it. That is of way more value than any tip that you can give them. So as I said, we're handing the reader a mirror. That sudden recognition, okay, realizing that they're not alone, it's worth more than any tip you can give them. So if you're saying, in this example, you're writing about sitting at your kitchen table at midnight, staring at a blank page, wondering if any of this is worth it. The person reading that has probably gone through that themselves. They're not reading in a fact that 98% of people will ignore their articles. They're seeing that, oh yeah, somebody else, all their articles were being ignored. They weren't going viral. Nothing was happening. And then suddenly over time it built up. That's what they want to know. They want you to give them hope, not facts. So use your raw experiences, stuff from day-to-day life. Something that happened when you went for a walk, something that happened when you go shopping, something that happened when you sat in a cafe. Take the things you see around you. Forget this whole, my article's got to be useful, which leads to sterile tips and the same thing that everyone else is doing. Take those experiences and turn them into stories, ideas, lessons. Then show people what those lessons mean and how they can use that to take the next step. So one of the ones I used last year, I was sat at a local cafe having my morning coffee, and there was two people on the table next to me. One was a huge, massive bloke, and then there was a girl, and they ordered with fruit and berries and yogurt and a fried breakfast. And when the waiter put the fried breakfast down in front of the girl, I burst out laughing. So the guy was eating fruit, woman was eating beans and bacon and egg and stuff like that. And it was just a complete opposite of what I expected. And that was the spur for the article that day. That gave me, in fact, it gave me about 2 days article. And it was the most shared, commented and liked bit of content for that month. Now, it wasn't because it's full of practical advice about ordering breakfast. It was because it was real and people recognize that quick judgment. Everyone has it. Everyone does it. So the way to do this, okay, let's forget about the old way of picking lessons you want to teach, writing the advice, announcing the lesson up front, like today I'm going to give you 10 lessons in how to do this, this and this. Forget that. First off, talk about what the scene, set the scene, where you were, what was going on, etc. People will then see it in their head. What will happen is they'll get word pictures. They'll start to imagine themselves in your story. Tell people what it felt like, how weird it was. One of my best ones was when I talked about, I went for to a restaurant in Portugal and we ordered some fish and they were actually catching the fish outside the restaurant, but there was no prices. By the time we finished, we had spent over 500 euros on fish. Okay, there was a massive lesson there. But people could see, they could picture themselves inside my story, in my position, sat down, enjoying lunch with your friends, drinking wine, ordering another fish. That recognition is what made that article so successful and led to the most sales of my course in one day. Let the lesson just come natural. Here's what I learned from this. People will actually understand the lesson before you even highlight it. But it's always make sure that you highlight it because there's always that one person that doesn't get it. So that is really it. Try and forget using tips all the time. Sometimes they may be okay, but most of the time you will get a better reaction and a better result by talking about stories. You're going to get your articles read no matter what you do, but getting them remembered is the important thing. Hope that made sense. If you have any questions, you can come and join our community. You'll see the link down below. Come and join us and chat about writing. That's what we do all day long and turning our writing into income. Thanks a lot, guys.